And one. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Woman's Cave. And no, I did not go, oh my goodness, recording in progress. It's the best thing ever. I did not say that because I was trying to be professional. My bad. I did just say that, didn't I? Well, there goes that professional, went right out the window. And I'm going to go ahead on the whole unprofessional train and just say for my banter today, I'm going to be like, I am loving this large sweater because it's showing a clavicle bone I haven't seen since COVID began. Working out is working out. Yes. Okay, now I'm done. So we wrote books. And when I say we, I mean me, Winona. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Winona. Ah! High five to me. What? And there's a missing Jade. And well, there's a missing Jade. So when I say we, that's who we're talking about. Or I'm talking about, because there's not a we today. Yeah, I hate when I do this alone. I get so confused between I and we. And you know, I write books for a living. Go figure. One of the books is And I Thought Divorce Was Bad. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. Oh my goodness, I was about to add books that weren't even on the Audible list. So And I Thought Divorce Was Bad. And I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy. If Only I Were Me, a memoir in verse, foreign coffee, Widow's Web, Widow's Debt. I'm missing something because there's 6 of them. And I can't remember what the other one is. Oh, well. If you go to our website, you'll find out about all of that, plus the extra 11. So that if you're here doing the math, it's 11 plus 6 equals 17 books. Ah! There you go. At www.andithoughladies, and you know I got to do it like a salesperson.com. And just in case you didn't get it before, so it's www.andithoughladies.com. There you go. But you're not here to hear about me, although I could talk about me for days. I'm loving my lipstick, the clavicle bone, the sweater. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Wonderful guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Erin Niumata. I am a Senior Vice President at Folio Literary Management in New York, but I live in London. And I have been in publishing for over 30 years. I was an editor. I am now an agent. I have a master's in creative writing, and I am currently doing my doctorate on women's fiction studies. So that's me.
I'm sorry, you have a master's in creative writing. I should be asking
Yes.
the question everyone wants to know, but pish posh on them. Do you write?
I do, but not seriously. I have no ambitions to write books right now. I got it because I wanted it, and I thought it could really help me with my clients, with their writing, their narrative arcs, their story structures and everything. And it actually has come in quite handy. I only got it 3 years ago. And now I'm doing my doctorate.
I mean, yeah. I feel like it's great. That make you a better agent to understand what your clients are going through to write this book, because I'm saying writing a book is hard.
I know, just writing the dissertation and what all the rest of it. I was like, I don't know how people do this full-length novels. This is killing me, but I can edit it. I don't want to write it, but I can edit it. And I can make your story better, and then I can sell it. So there you go.
That's the most important part. You can sell it, so you can turn those words into actual cash. Okay, that's right. Let me ask the question that everyone wants to know. What are you looking for in a query letter? I almost got bored asking the question. And then, of course, the follow-up question is, what are you looking for right now? Although it says close the queries on your page.
Yeah, there's a reason for all of this, and all will become clear in a minute.
So this is a mystery interview. Y'all got to stay tuned.
There you go. I am a woman of many mysteries. Not at all. I'm an open book, no pun intended. But query letters, again, I want to know that you've done your homework. If I get a blank, dear agent, generic, they don't know anything about me, it's the wrong genre, I know that they're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I want you to know my list, what it is I'm looking for, have something that like women's fiction or cozy mystery or narrative nonfiction, whatever it is, whatever I represent. You've done your homework, you know who I am, you know my list, and you pitch it to me. Compliments will get you everywhere. I'm not saying, I like your hair. It's just like, I really like this book that you represented, or this book that you edited when you were an editor, and I have something that's similar to it. I thought you'd be the perfect person. When I see that somebody's done their homework, I'm like, great. That's the first bit. The second bit is, tell me what your story is. Give me that synopsis, that hook, that it's like the back cover copy or the flap copy. I want that in the query letter. and then a nice little, I look forward to hearing from you, whatever. But I always ask with your query letter for a synopsis, and I want the full synopsis. I don't want a will they, won't they, or who done it ending. I want to know. I want the synopsis of the whole book, and I want the free 3 chapters. And the reason why I do that is the synopsis tells me if it's a story that I'm going to like, that's going to work, that I think has legs, that people are going to want to be interested in. And the first 3 chapters lets me know if you can write it. Because if you can't get my attention in the first 50 to 75 pages, you're done. And that goes for everybody. That's not just me. That goes for any editor, any agent who's looking for something to work. You got to hook them, and you got to keep them wanting more. So with that, if I ask for 100 or a full manuscript, you're halfway there. And I don't ask for a lot of stuff to be sent to me at all.
Wow. Okay, that's nice to know. So if I'm going to try to go ahead and query you, no, I'm not, because my book isn't good enough. I'm moving on.
I'll be the judge of that. Thank you.
One should know their own limits. Limitation. Anyway, moving on. So thank you so much for answering that so concisely and just beautifully. I feel like people know exactly what you want now. Now let's go into the fun stuff. You were an editor. What did you learn from editing that helped you be a better literary agent?
Well, when I was very little, I loved to read absolutely everything. I grew up in the Bahamas, and I went to a small primary school, and there was just one little library with a little librarian, Mrs. Sweeting. She used to have to ask the PTA for more funds to buy more books for me, because all I wanted to do was read, and I wanted to be a writer, and I wanted to live in New York City. So eventually I grew up, I went to college, I graduated, and I moved to New York City, and I thought I'd be a writer. But until I could become a writer, I had to make a living. So I became an editor, and I fell in love with it. I worked with great bosses for Simon and Schuster and Harper Collins. I was editorial director of Avalon Books, which is now part of Montlake at Amazon. And I learned how to edit, how to find a story that has bones and make it better, and how to look for something that's unique, and also how to break hearts of writers, because when they give you their baby, you have to tell them no. And that was the hardest part, really, was learning how to reject people without going home and crying about it myself. So it was learning all of that. And I learned how the process of how books are bought, what agents or what editors are looking for, what particular imprints want, and how to appeal to them as an agent. So when I send something out, I have a pretty good idea of which editor and which imprint I want to send it to while I'm reading it for the first time. So it took 30 years, but I think I got a handle on it now, maybe. Even now I have projects that don't sell. So clearly I'm not completely on top of my game, but
How does an agent know what they want to write? This is not a question I actually had in mind, but I just have to ask. I think I've never asked an agent before, but how does an agent know what they want to represent to sell? Because this is their livelihood. So therefore, how do they know?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really a romance person. I didn't really read. I did when I was a teenager, and, I thought romance was big, sweeping, epic historical fiction. It's not, by the way. But I thought I didn't really know it. So I wasn't really an audience for it. But when I started working for Avalon Books, one of the predominant things they did was romances. So I had to learn how to edit it. And I got an eye for women's fiction and romance. I just happened to be really good at editing this. So I stick with it. Now I enjoy it, but I do read some other romances, and I definitely read a lot of women's fiction to keep up with what's out there and what's current, to hone my own skills and to keep with the market. But then there are things that come in like this book right here, Witchcraft Therapy. I never thought that this would be something that I would like. And I thought, witchcraft, that can't be right. But it's so much more than that. And the author, Mandy M., is so wonderful. Her writing is just so terrific. The book is so much fun. I absolutely love it. I couldn't resist it. I had to represent it. And then there's another person, Her name is Annalyn Thomas. She is just so freaking funny. And she talks about being a mother and how everything just goes so terribly wrong. She talks about farting and giving birth and all kinds of things that mothers aren't supposed to talk about. How could I resist it? I couldn't possibly resist it. And then there was the Tyler Merritt. He had a video go viral last year during hashtag Black Lives Matter. It was before you call the cops, I want you to know something about me. I don't know if you saw the video or not, but Jimmy Kimmel had it on and so on. In fact, Jimmy Kimmel wrote the foreword for this. He is the most wonderful, adorable, honest, earnest person I've ever known. He's absolutely terrific. And his book is just so moving. And the audiobook, which is read by him, is fascinating. I couldn't pass him up. I mean, he was just so wonderful. I had to take this on. So, but my bread and butter is really women's fiction. And this is Carolyn Brown, who I've been working with. I was her editor first. We've been together for 22 years and 108 books together. She is absolutely wonderful. She's a New York Times bestselling author, USA Today bestselling author. She does 6 to 9 books a year. She's amazing. I don't know how she does it. I mean, I could barely write a dissertation in 3 years and she could just bang them out in a month, so it's a gift. So that was probably more than you wanted to know, but there you go.
No, I loved listening to you talk about this. And I was going to ask a question about what have you represented lately? And then I saw the books come up and I'm like, oh, she took care of that for me. Woo, that's erased off the chalkboard of questions. But I am going to go back to my questions that I ask normally. So one of the questions that I ask, because writers are always, I think one of my friends that's a writer, he mentioned that he's like, I think like one of the literary agents, said no to me while she was taking shots in the club because I got a no back at like 12:39 a.m. He's like, well, who does that? It's like shots, hold on. Yeah, that's a no. Shots. One day a literary agent explained what agents do. And I was like, I don't think she was taking shots. I think she was working. So I would love for you to explain, what does a day look like for you as a senior vice president literary agent, with a high status literary agent?
Well, I have a to-do list, which is a train wreck that I do every single day. I put it up and it has everything that I'm supposed to do, following up on contracts, following up who I haven't spoken to, which books are coming up, which one I have to do, if I have to create a sub list for this. Nudge this one, follow up on that submission and all the rest of it. Meanwhile, right now I am closed for queries because I do not have the staff to manage them. That is the only reason why I'm closed queries. And that doesn't mean that people aren't sending them to me, because they are. And when they come in, they have to be managed. I usually have a team of interns and my assistant and I have readers and so on and so forth that work with me. When the queries come in, they're divided out. Everybody has been trained on what it is that I want, how to look for it, and they do a reader's report. And then we suggest whether it is to be passed on or pages are to be requested. The sheer volume of them, I get anywhere from 25 to 75 a week. There is no way that I could do that without the staff to help me out. And I was quite busy this time and I didn't get enough interns in to manage it. So I had to close for queries. I've got a lot of active projects right now anyway. So my day basically is just following up on things, preparing to go out with things, and trying to keep on top of all of my contracts and reading and editorial notes and so on. Sounds really busy.
Yeah,
I'm exhausted.
So busy.
I'm like, how do I do it? I have no clue.
I remember Sarah Megabo explained like what she does in a day. And I was like, I don't see how you even look at the emails. I'd be like, so people, I'm busy. That would be my response until 4 years from now. I'm busy.
Well, yeah, I have on average about 21 to 22 things that I must take care of in a day. And while that doesn't seem like a lot, some of it is rather time consuming. So sometimes I take 5 things and roll them on to the next day. And while I'm scratching things off my to-do list for today, I'm writing tomorrow's to-do list at the same time. Because if I follow up on something, it might go up to Friday's list to follow up on it. So I always have to keep on top of what's going out, where's it going, and all the rest of it. It's a lot of organization, following up on things, making things don't fall through the cracks. So
Yeah, I
it's a
definitely
lot.
understand that. So, what was the question I wanted to ask? Oh, yeah. So I want to ask a technical question. You can definitely pass on it if you like to, but a lot of people that are watching this, well, most of the people that are watching this want to be traditionally published. So hence the first question. But some of us are self-published, and we would love to know, like, if our dreams came true and a traditional publisher came knocking at our door.
And they do.
They do. I would love to know, what should we be looking for in that contract before we sign it? What are the pitfalls for the new author in the contract?
Right. So if you are self-publishing, the book is doing extremely well. If a publisher approaches you, I would highly suggest that you go to agents that you admire and say, I have a publisher who wants to take my self-published book and traditionally publish it. Because there are a lot of nuances in these contracts and clauses and hidden things that you're not going to see that really need a professional eye on them. If you don't want an agent, I suggest that you get an attorney who's familiar with publishing, because publishing is a completely different animal from the rest of licensing. So I wouldn't sign something on your own without having a professional look at it at all. That would be my advice to you. But if you do have traditional publishers knocking on your door, that's a very good sign for you. You don't have to take the first one. I would find an agent and tell them what's happening. Because once you're moving from self-published to published, you have to take the one that you're publishing off the market for a certain amount of time. Each publisher is different, but there's work that goes into it. It's not just a magic click and they take it over. There will be a lull between your stopping your self-publishing and the traditional publishing taking place. So that will be a lapse in income for you, with hopefully a payday eventually. So, yeah.
Thank you. That question was just answered so well. Oh my word. So I guess the last part, no. Before I go to the last question, I would like to know personally for myself, and I'm skipping my narcissist question this time, if you are an audience. Kate is normally here and normally stops me from doing this. I'm skipping it because I want to ask a real question, is how did you become a literary agent? You had so many other careers in publishing before you like, literary agent is for me.
Well, I thought it might be a good step for me at some point, because I was putting in really long hours as the editorial director at Avalon Books. And then I met this nice fella and we got married, and I kept working. And then I got pregnant. I was like, I don't want to be putting in these hours. I want to set my own hours. And it was when I had my first child that I wanted to take a step back from working so hard and being responsible. Editorial director, you're responsible for the entire staff and each book that comes out. And I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for that. I want to step back and I want to do something on a smaller scale. And I had my first child, I had my second child, then we moved to London and I went back to work full time. And that was perfect for me. So it wasn't that I started out like, I want to be a literary agent. It was what was going to fit my lifestyle. And this was the perfect next step for me.
Did publishing give you a leg up at all on what you should be looking for in the next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and it gave me a leg up with people who were starting out, because I worked at two of the major big five, or is it almost big four publishers, Harper Collins, Simon and Schuster. And this is 30 years ago that I started out. And I knew all the other editorial assistants and, everybody jumps house and all the rest of it. Now, some of the people that I started out with are the decision makers and the editorial directors and the publishers. And, we all grew up together. So I have a good idea of what the imprints want and the people who are buying them, because I have personal relationships with them. That's not everybody. That's with a handful of people. But I've been around for so long, and Folio is a really tight-knit group of agents. We share everything. We lean on each other, and it's a great group to work with because we're not just alone in the world with our shingle hanging out. We actually have a lot of people to pull from for information on submission lists. And when an editor moves house, we share all of this information. So it's been very supportive and it's been great. I think that I bring a lot to Folio and I get a lot from Folio because everybody's pretty good.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for answering the question. I know I
Sure.
skipped my narcissist question, and inside I feel like I'm hurting.
You can fire away. Let's hear it. I'm dying to know what it is.
Oh, my narcissist question is the same. I just wanted to know if you wanted to represent two adorable African-American poets who are going to, make the jump over to romance one day or something like that.
I don't do poetry, but there are people at Folio who do poetry. So you and I should talk offline. Yes, indeed.
No one wants our poetry. Don't worry about it.
You don't know that.
Except for our fans. And we thank you, our fans. Definitely. So lastly, my question is, any advice that you want to give to either someone who's going to think about being a literary agent or someone who's thinking about submitting to you?
If you want to be a literary agent, I suggest you start with an internship because it will give you a bird's eye view of what it means to be a literary agent. Like we at Folio, we have Intern Academy where we tell people different parts of the publishing industry, from contracts to what editing, the different imprints, and so on. And there are other agencies that do the same, but that'll give you an idea if it's something you want to do. The same goes if you want to be an editor, you can get an internship at a publishing house so you can get an idea of what goes on there. If you were looking to submit to an agent, do your homework, know their name, spell their name right. Do you know how many people send things to me? Dear Mr. Erin, or Dear Mr. AARON or ARON. It's like, it's Erin with an E. Once I told somebody, they called and asked, how to spell my name. And I said, Erin with an E. My name at the time was Cartwright, Erin with an E, Cartwright. They sent it in to me at Harper Collins, and it was Erin spelled ARON with an E, spelled WHITNE or something like that, Cartwright. And I was like, oh, okay, that didn't work at all. So, but know their name, know their sex, get their list right, do your homework, and pitch effectively because it'll only work better for you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. If you wanted to let people know where they can find out more about you, is there a place that online, like social media, or do you just want to let them know where they can find out about Folio management? Either or, you can tell us that.
You can go to foliolit.com. There's 18 agents there who represent a whole wealth of different things, including me. I'm also on Twitter at EC Niumata. I'm also on Instagram as Agent Erin Niumata. So come and find me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Erin, for being here with us today. By the way, it's Erin with an E, E-R-I-N, not at the end.
Exactly.
That would be interesting, though. Ooh, and the person out there that did that, wow, that's a creative.
I didn't take their project on, unfortunately.
Oh, but at least she thinks about you. I mean, that counts.
Right. So there you go.
One step closer. All right, I'm gonna wrap us up. So I'm Winona, and I always remember to say that at the end. And part of the And I Thought Ladies, you can find out everything that your ladies are up to at www.andithoughladies.com. While you're there, go down to the middle of the page and you can see the 3 charities that we proudly support. We would love it if you would take some time to check them out and possibly, I hate this because I can never think of another word for this, support them too. And we thank you in advance for your support, because I'm just not creative with my thesauruses. It's okay. So support. That's all we were asking for. And remember that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona and the Missing Jade. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.